Okay. All right. Let's get started then. Okay, folks, today, as you can see, the goal here, what we're trying to do is to teach you strategies that will allow you to obtain new vocabulary, to learn new words, especially as it applies to algebra. All right, and then to use those words, we'll also teach a strategy that will allow you to use those words properly as you use them in your algebra text. So this is your ability to do that. A lot of these words in math tests are above grade level. Math tests and science texts are written higher than most of the grade level of your other books. So we have to be very careful of how we use the vocabulary. In doing that, then we're going to start with fluency. And let me explain to you what fluency is. Fluency is basically your ability to read a text the way the author intended you to teach to read it in such a way that every word comes fluently, comes to you, you recognize it, you don't have to think about the words. You just basically word recognition with the proper cadence, just like you're speaking to each other. And then you're able to pause when you should pause. Pause at the comma, pause at the period or the question mark. So when you do it that way, you get more out of the word, more out of the text. When I talk to any of you in a classroom, you don't have a problem understanding what I say. But many students, when they read a text, they have it might be the same words I would use, but because it's written in a text, if they're not fluent in picking up that word and using the right emphasis and pausing where they need to pause, then they don't understand the text. That's what fluency is, okay? So we want to talk about fluency, and to do that, I want to use this particular text that is right out of your book. It's one of the word problems that are in your book. Now I want to emphasize this time we're not focused on the math. We're focused on the reading part so you understand what the problem is in the first place, okay? So very briefly, I'll just read this at the top. Oceanside Bike Rental Shop charges $16 plus $7 an hour for renting a bike. Fred paid $44 to rent a bike. How many hours did he pay to have the bike checked out? Or how many hours? Yeah, that's right. How many hours did he pay? Okay, now, basically, I can understand that without any problem, and maybe some of you can. But the best way, a tactic for that, if you have difficulty reading even these word problems, is to break the sentence down into meaningful pieces. And I've given you an example here. Every time I've got a slash here is a place that I would stop, because that is one idea, one individual idea. And then when I get to an end of a sentence, I'll put double marks. That means we definitely have to stop there because there's going to be a new idea in the next sentence. Okay? So in this one, just listen to me as I read along this, because you're going to get to practice this in a minute. Oceanside Bike Rental Shop charges $16 plus $7 an hour for renting the bike. You see how the ideas are broken up there, okay? And each one of those is a complete idea. Fred paid $44 to rent the bike, or to rent a bike. How many hours did he pay for, basically that's what it says, to have the bike checked out? Okay? So what you've done here is you've broken down each of these sentences into bite-sized pieces, each of which has a specific meaning, and it's part of the problem. Okay? So let's go then to the, let's talk with this with me before me. Read this with me as I go along here, okay? This is called choral reading. And choral reading is one way where you can practice with the group. It doesn't single you out. But you can also hear other people around you pronouncing these words, saying these things, whether it be the teacher or maybe one of the advanced students who will know how to say these words and say them fluently. It'll also indicate to you if there's words there you don't know. So read this along with me in choral reading here, okay? Ready? Oceanside Bike Rental Shop charges $16 plus $7 per hour for renting a bike. Fred paid $44 to rent the bike. How many hours did he pay to have the bike checked out? Okay? Very good. All right, I want you to do this on your own then. I want you to go ahead and with the one that you've got in front of you there, with your pair partner, and Polly, you're going to have to work probably with these two. I want you to take turns taking this back and forth, reading it back and forth, and as that happens, then the other one, the one on the other side, who's the listener, can give some feedback at the end to the partner. And then the other partner will read it and we'll get feedback, okay? So go ahead and do that now, to each other.
Oceanside Bike Rentals charges $16 plus $7 an hour
for renting a bike.
Fred paid $44
to rent a bike.
How many hours did he pay to have the bike checked out?
Any comments?
Oceanside Bike Rental Oceanside Bike Rental Shop charges $16 plus $7 an hour for renting a bike. Fred paid $44 to rent a bike. How many hours did he pay to have the bike checked out?
Yeah, a little bit. We can improve on.
The one thing here, this might help you, Paul, because you have a strong Spanish accent. Okay, when you read English, when you practice these things with regular English speakers who speak English as a first language, then you'll get better. You'll pronounce these words a little better. My wife has that issue. She's not an English speaker. She has the same issue. She'll mispronounce words. My kids correct her. So go ahead, please.
Oceanside
You guys finish with it?
Bike Rental Shop charges $16 plus $7 an hour for renting a bike. Fred paid $44 to rent a bike. How many hours did he pay to have the bike checked out?
Okay.
Good.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. I want to go then transition to fluency. You all understand what the fluency is all about. And sometimes it just takes practice. This is why a lot of teachers will tell you to read something multiple times or to read a lot. Read a lot. The more you read, the better you're going to get with fluency for a couple of reasons. One is you're not going to have to think about the words. You're going to pick up the words.
Don't understand it.
Yeah, that's right. As soon as you see them, you'll know what they are. And part of fluency is being fluent in English means that you are not thinking about the words. You're thinking about what they mean when they put them all together. Okay, but let's transition now into a strategy for comprehending what you read. And I'm going to teach you one of several different strategies today for comprehending what you read. There's probably, 7 or 8 different strategies that you could use. This is the first one that I'll teach you. It's called a monitoring comprehension strategy. I might say at this point in time that what I'm saying here not only applies to reading, but it applies to other classes that you may have and how you even study sometimes. And you'll see where that follows in a minute. A comprehension strategy has essentially 3 points. When you read it and you look at a text, you identify what it is you understand. Okay? And then the second thing is you identify what you don't understand. That's probably the most important part. And then the third part is you come up with a strategy to fix that understanding. And I'll give you an example here in a second. All right, we're going to use this particular text for this one. On Monday, 460 students went on a trip to the zoo. All 8 buses were filled with 4 students, and 4 students had to travel in cars. How many students were on each bus? Okay, let me see if I can get that down here and get that last piece up there, the strategies. There you go. Okay, one more time. On Monday, 460 students went on a trip to the zoo. All 8 buses were filled, and 4 students had to travel in cars. How many students were in each bus? Again, we're not focusing on the math here. We want to make sure we understand the problem. Okay, first of all, what do I understand?
We understand that it's Monday and there's 460 students going on a field trip to the zoo.
Okay, very good. Very good. So it's Monday, and there's 460 students, and they're going to the zoo.
And there's also 8 buses and 4 students had to travel in cars.
Okay, so you got 8 buses, and plus 4 students in cars. I'll just put 4 cars here. Okay, what about all this problem? What about that do we not understand? Okay. I would say here, I don't understand how to figure out how many students are in each bus.
Yeah,
It asked me.
yeah, that is a good point.
Go ahead. I'm not telling you to solve the problem, but that's what I don't know from reading this, okay? Now, that's the essence of the mathematics problem, but the point is, I don't know that, so I've got to figure this out. This is the application of the math, okay? So what I don't understand is how to find out or determine students per bus. Okay. Now in the math lesson, in the math lesson, I would show you how to set up an equation. Well, this is reading though. We don't want to do the math yet. Okay. So let's just assume that you don't know. Okay. This is just an example, huh? Okay. Now the strategies then. Okay. Assuming that we're not quite as sharp as Paul. Okay. The strategies then. How are we going to figure this out? How are we gonna find out what we don't know about that particular thing? We understand that part of the sentence, right? So what are we gonna do?
You could take away 400. You could take away 4 from 460.
Yeah.
Now you're giving me the math part. Now you're giving me the math part.
And then divided the rest divided wait. And then divided 1. Wait, I'm confused now.
Okay.
Well, I know, I swear I know.
Okay, well here, let's think about this. If you were from a pure reading point of view, and you didn't know that, what would you do? How would you figure this out? What's the one tool that you've got that you can do this?
You have to understand that they put 460 students in 8 buses and still not have enough
Okay,
to like let them travel in, so that's why they had the cars.
okay. So what you're telling me here is this at this point, the strategy that you've got to find out how many students were in the bus was basically to come up with some kind of equation that would tell you that. Okay, and how are you going to find out that equation?
There was 57 students per bus. Yeah.
Just
57, we got that figured out already? Okay, well, I won't do the math here, but what you're gonna do is, what I'm trying to get you at here, is that one of the strategies for figuring that point out is to come up with an equation, okay? I've got to find the equation. And to find that equation, I might have to go back to the text and find something in the book that told me how to put this equation together, okay? Because you've already told me that we have 460 students, we have 8 buses, plus 4 students in cars, so we know that 460 minus 4, okay, can be divided by 8 kids, okay? So somehow we've got to put that in a formula. So the strategy to find out what I don't know, both as a reading strategy and a math strategy, is to figure out how to write the equation, which is also in your text, okay? So I'm just going to put equation down here. All right, that's very good. That's very good. Okay, an equation in the text. Okay, I'll put in the text. Use the text. Because this is a reading class, I want you to be able to go back and reference the text. The text is there for a purpose. Okay? Now, let's do this one then. That's basically the how. Let's talk through this thing, and I'll put this in another format. The monitoring comprehension strategy is basically in three parts. You have three parts of that here. So I've got another word problem, and there's the part I understand. Here's a column for what I don't understand, and here's for the strategy. It's a little different than I did it a while ago, but sometimes this is easier to read, okay? Particularly if you're going to use these for studying, which I would hope you would do. Okay, now, so let's read this together, okay? Again, ready? Joan spent half of her allowance going to the movies. She washed the family car, and earned $8. What was her weekly allowance if she earned or ended with $13? I'm sorry, I can't see it. So, what do we understand in that?
Well, she understand that her weekly allowance is $13 and she spent half of it.
Oh, you think that's it? Anybody agree with that?
She had $8 for their allowance. It's saying if she had $13.
Yeah, okay, she spent half of her allowance.
Yeah, but she watched the family car to get the $8, so. I mean, that
And
doesn't
she
really go
spent
along
half
with
of her,
allowance.
she spent half of her allowance going to the movies. Okay, then she washed the family car and got $8. Okay, and then she ended up with $13. So you have to go
So-
back and then find out what you.
It was
So you're telling me
$10
something here, you're telling me
allowance.
what we don't know. Okay, so what we do know, we know that she spent one half of her allowance, right? Allowance, and right now I'm not gonna, it doesn't matter what she spent it on, she spent it on the movies in this case. That's not part of the problem here. Okay, she washed the family car, she got $8, okay? $8 for washing the car.
And then
That's what we know, right?
at the end of the week was $13.
Okay, and she ended up with $13. Okay, I got this all the that's her final number. All right, we know that much. That's given to us, there's no interpretation, right? That's very clear. Now, what is it we don't know?
We
What
don't
she
know
started off with.
what she started off with, yeah.
Okay, we don't know what her allowance was, okay? We do not know what her allowance was. All right, that's pretty clear. All right, so then how are we going to figure out the allowance?
By setting up an equation.
Okay, we're going to set up an equation. In this case,
She earned $8, so $8 minus 13, that's 5 times 2. She had $10 at the beginning of it.
okay, well, okay, that makes sense, Ben, that makes sense, that's the math of it. Okay, so she had $13 before or after she earned the $8, which means that when she earned the $8, she had $5, right? That was half of her allowance. So half of her allowance then would be 2 times 5 or $10, right? So the strategy is to come up with the right question. You're thinking through it very, very, very well here. So that is your strategy, and that's how you would apply it to a word problem. All right? Now finally, then, since you've got that, I want you to, I don't know if I wrote this one up here or not. Yeah, I did. I want you individually now to write out, using the monitoring strategies, monitoring comprehension strategy, this one. Well, I'll leave this one here. And I want you then to, whoops, do Benny, do this one. Write this one out, and I will collect these at the end. So put your name on those and use the strategy, see if you can, see what we can get out of this. that's probably